start of 2020, I decided to improve my artwork. I only recently started getting back into painting from kind of when I was at school. I hadn't really done much since then, but I really wanted to start kind of enjoying it and getting better at it. So I set myself a New Year's resolution to complete an entire sketchbook. I had a really great time. Some of the paintings in it are great, I'm really proud of them, some of them less so, but I've really kind of come to the conclusion that anything I make is an improvement on making nothing at all. This is actually an old pair of jeans that I had, my first ever pair of Levi's, which I was actually kind of disappointed with because they wore through really quickly. So instead of throwing them away, I decided to cut them up and use them to cover my sketchbook. And then on the back, I actually used one of the pockets of the jeans. So I actually kept my Viviva colour sheets in here and a paintbrush as well, so that I could take my sketchbook with me, and it worked really, really well. But now let's have a look inside, see what I made this year. To kind of start with, I had just recently bought India ink and I was obsessed with it, so I wanted to use pretty much entirely India ink, a white gel pen, to make this moon and night sky painting. So it says Brew Sketchbook 2020. So yeah, this was kind of my cover page. This again was India ink. I just started playing around in the top left corner. Wasn't sure what I was doing, then it kind of spread out. This was my first time using oil paints, actually from a scrawler box that I got. I didn't realise how long it took oil paints to dry. So I actually painted this, and then it wasn't until a couple of months later that I was able to go over it with India ink to a level that I was happy with. But I really actually love how this whole spread came out. Let's not talk about this tree. It didn't go very well, but this painting I really like. I just love the vibrancy of these colours. Again, this is the Viviva colour sheets that I love and I use them a lot. This pink, however, gets everywhere. I will somehow, even if I'm not using it, it'll get on my hand and then it will cover the page. So you might see, like here, the pink, the magenta just spreads everywhere, which is kind of annoying, but I still love all of these colours. They're just gorgeous. This was another scrawler box. This was pastels, but I actually really enjoyed making these pieces. And this is just a very basic kind of pencil drawing of the underground. My first attempt at a galaxy using watercolours. This was another, there's a lot of scroller boxes in here. This was another scroller box. This was biodegradable glitter and craft paper and some black fine liners. This is one of the first pieces that I actually started to kind of thumbnail my drawings and work through the process of coming up with a concept and then working through it until I reached the final product, which I really like. Another scroller box. This was the Copic markers. I've always wanted alcohol markers. Even though this is not massively kind of my style, I'm not used to using them, I would love to get some more to practice with them. I think this girl is super cute. More watercolours, having a little kind of go with blending. Again, Viviva colour sheets and just fine liners. These remind a lot of people when they see them of the, help me out, Studio Ghibli, I think My Neighbor Totoro maybe? Possibly Spirited Away, I can't remember, but they remind a lot of people of those from there. So this is Caduceus Clay from Critical Role. And this piece was from a scrawler box. This is the original Viviva colour sheets box. And then I ended up using the oil paints to do sort of like a headshot of Caduceus. This was kind of me swatching out colours and working out what I wanted to use. And the thumbnail that kind of helped me design this piece here. This was me using all of my red art supplies, so I've got watercolours, Posca pens, highlighters, watercolour pencils, kind of all the different art supplies that I had begun to kind of collect, which was pretty cool. This was another scrawler box. This was the Tri-Blend alcohol markers, and I liked the way the picture came out so much that I wanted to recreate it in gouache on this side as well. This sticker is from a company in Tokyo called B-Side Label. They're really cool. If you're ever in Tokyo, go check them out. They're in Harajuku. They make really cool stuff. So I did all the different yellow kind of materials I had. Bees, because, you know, bees. This was a collage of a secret base that my druid had in D&D. She was kind of into kind of subterfuge, and she had like a little cavern that looked out over the city and lots of plants. So this was kind of her space that I sort of envisioned for her, sort of Persephone's garden vibe, which is really cool. This was from that same campaign. I was basically every session would take some of my favourite elements and I would paint them to kind of show the journey of the characters. Some more pages, we've got some more watercolours. This was another D&D campaign, again not painted but just kind of sketched out. This was a mixture, I think, of watercolour pens and pencils. I painted it on the original piece of paper and I didn't love it, so I decided to cut along some of the defining lines, and then when I put it back in I layered it. Obviously you can see I've kind of extended it out and I really like the way it looks in here versus how it was just on the paper. This was charcoal, the scene from Into the Spider-Verse where he kind of jumps off the building, but instead of falling they flip the camera so the shot is like him moving up towards the city, which I thought was super cool. This was another scroll box with graphy tint. I loved kind of just being a bit more free with my brush strokes in this one. I thought it looked really kind of mystic and spooky. This was, I loved this scroll box. This was Posca paint pens, but obviously in sort of pastel colours. The prompt was character creation, so you can see I kind of would swatch out the colours to make these sort of 3D-esque potion bottles, which are really cool, and the texture of them is really nice as well. This is Coco, she's adorable, from Animal Crossing. Best villager ever. This page I really love as well. I took some washi tape and I then tried to recreate it using Posca pens. This is the sketches for a dress that I actually made this summer. This was me taking forever to work out the math of the circle skirt. These are some fabric swatches from some fabrics that I was kind of looking at. I actually ended up using this blue cotton-esque material. The dress itself is awesome. I don't have any footage because I'm a fool, but I will hopefully be wearing that when I go home in spring. This is another page of washi tapes and Posca pens. I used metallic gel pens to add details in these two as well, which is really cool. I really like this kind of blocky, vague style of kind of creating an image that's recognisable but not very detailed. I quite enjoy that. This was an art supply that I didn't love because it was calligraphy pens. I loved the colours, I think the colours were great, I think the quality of the materials were fantastic, but I just didn't gel with the product. I ended up actually giving the pens to a friend of mine, but it was really good to try a material and try a supply and not be happy with it or comfortable with it. Now I know, you know, this isn't something that I enjoy, so I don't need to worry about it. So it was good to kind of go through that discovery process. This piece I really enjoy, so I kind of thumbnailed it here, which I quite liked how the water turned out on this page. This was just me swatching out my different brush sizes that I have. Here are the watercolour paints from one of the more recent scroller boxes. I did like them. They're a lot darker than I'm used to using. I actually prefer this kind of section, so if I could just have that'd be cool. I might try and recreate that actually. This is more washi tape. I've been meaning to buy Posca pens, so this page will be completed once I do that. This is the last page, which was sort of a final kind of sign-off, if you like, and here's some kind of swatches of some highlighters. So yeah, that's my 2020 sketchbook. I'm quite proud of it, that I actually managed to fill most, if not all of the pages. I guess I would say that if you have a goal, like practice is the key. You know, there are some pieces in here that I absolutely love, some pieces in here that I kind of try and skip over, but I learnt something from every single one of them. And I wouldn't have learnt anything if I hadn't set myself this challenge. So I hope you enjoyed flipping through my first full sketchbook with me. I'm hopefully going to be making a few more art videos because I think it's important to, you know, see people at different levels and hopefully, you know, grow. Why are words hard when you're recording? Find a sketchbook, fill it. It doesn't matter if it's rubbish or if it's a tiny little doodle in the corner of the page, but let yourself get things wrong and you'll start getting more things right. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. How do you do outros?